Yeah, what's good, YouTube? We back with another episode, and today it's another episode of You Be the Judge, where we bring up someone to the public and we debate whether you should be drafting him or not. And today on the stand, we got Kyle Monangai. Yeah. So, Mr. Cricket Commish, for the closing argument, do you want to go first or second?
I'll go first and plead my case first.
Okay, if that's the case, then let me start with my first point then. All right. So my first point is that Monangai, as a prospect, barely even got drafted. The man was drafted in the 7th round, 17th pick. The 21 running backs went off the board before Monangai went off the board. I barely got drafted. The man did great with what he got. But for you to be touting Kyle Monangai, matter of fact, I didn't tell the people what you said, because the reason we are debating for Kyle Monangai, you said that Kyle Monangai by the end of the season will be the lead back. And I just thought that was preposterous, crazy. and I can't have it. You talking about a man that barely was drafted. 21 different running backs drafted before him. All of a sudden you think he gonna come in the league? Come in this, he didn't do it the first season. You think the second season he about to come take over the backfield? I can't see it, and guess what? You're gonna have to make these folks see it, since I can't see it.
Well, you may need these glasses in order to see it. So who knows? If you don't have them, maybe you won't see it. But how I feel with Kyle is, you're right. Everything you said there, true. 7th round draft pick. Plenty of other running backs taken before them. That draft, though, definitely was stocked with talent when it was coming to the draft position there. So there was plenty of good options, plenty of good running backs there in that particular draft. I do think that if Kyle was in another draft, maybe where there wasn't so many good options, he wouldn't have fallen all the way down to the 7th round. Not saying that he would have been a second round pick or anything like that, but I do think he is a better running back than what his draft position, shows. So, and being in year one in Ben Johnson's offense, I think he hit the ground running pretty damn good. So he shared the ball a lot with Swift, who already kind of knows Ben Johnson's system and kind of what he wants to do. So he's had the leg up on him there, kind of knowing what to do and kind of where to go, what holes to hit and stuff. But I do think by the midpoint of the season, Kyle really started getting his legs underneath him and really started performing well. He had himself a 100-yard game there along with Swift in the midpoint of the season. And going forward, too, he's just going to understand this offensive system that much more. He's going to know where to go. He knows he's looking better. His body is better fit for an NFL system here. So I would not be surprised at all, if Kyle ends up cracking the 1,000-yard mark there. And ends up being the leading rusher over Swift this season. Not saying that it's going to be a wide gap, but I do think he will edge him out. It will be one of those things where maybe Kyle gets just over 1,000, like maybe 1,075, and Kyle and Swift is like at 950 type of thing. And I do think they will both be featured in this Bears offensive system as well. Because if you look at what Ben did in Detroit, both Gibbs and David Montgomery carried the rock a lot. I know Ben Johnson's system, kind of the highlights going to get thrown around with the ball being in the air and the passes and whatnot. But in order for that to work, the running game has to be a factor. And Ben Johnson doesn't like to abandon the run, even if it's not going good. He's usually pretty good about sticking with it. So I do think Kyle is really going to kind of get his fair share of touches. And I just, being the younger back and whatnot, I think he eventually, towards the end of the season, will really start to take that, get more carries, and ends up getting more attempts than Swift when it gets towards the end there. So my whole thing as far as why I think people should be, investing in Kyle Monangai earlier, or at the very least, keep an eye on him. If his draft position is where it's at, I think you will get a good value in the draft spot and whatnot. Kyle's going to get plenty of opportunities in Ben Johnson's offensive system. Ben Johnson loves to run the rock, and I think towards the end of the year, Kyle will, like I said, just end up being the leading back and taking it over, as far as for Chicago. Because Kyle finished, I think, as a 30th best in PPR leagues and the 30s in running backs. And Swift was around 15-ish and stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the year, they almost kind of switch spots in a sense. Swift had around 215-ish fantasy points around there, depending on what your league, scores and whatnot. And I think Kyle finished around 150-ish, 140-ish in fantasy points and whatnot. So I think the attempt-wise as well, I think when it comes down to it, Ben Johnson's offense is just so dependent on running the rock and getting that run game established. And fantasy-wise, I just think, especially around the goal line as well, Kyle Monangai I can see being a goal line vulture and maybe one of those guys that kind of steals touchdowns from Swift because he is the bigger back. Kyle Monangai runs a hell of a lot harder than Swift is because of how much more muscle he has and whatnot. So if you've seen some of his runs last year, he's knocking the paint off of helmets when he's clashing with guys. So he's a big physical runner. I think he's going to get all the goal line work and maybe a goal line vulture, when it comes to the end of the season. And then with fantasy, sometimes that becomes more important or just more valuable than your yards. Is if a guy gets 3 touchdowns in the day and only 20 yards, it doesn't matter really at that point. So,
well, but to me, he's a grinder, and with a grinder who's not really a pass catcher, what? To me, you're showing your tail when you put him in on down. You're showing your tail because you ain't about to have him doing no wheel route. He ain't about to surprise you in the pass game. So to me, he doesn't make the offense more dynamic like Swift does to me. But that's just me, my small rebuttal. I do have a question for you, a simple question before I make my point. Hold up. How many carries are you expecting Kyle Monangai to get a game? Is it the same amount? Are you expecting him to get more? Around how many carries?
So last year, Kyle's highest rushing attempts was 26.
Yeah,
and that was against
Swift wasn't playing that game, I'm assuming.
I think that was the game where both him and Swift busted over 100, or may have been. No, I'm sorry, that was the Philadelphia game. So, yeah, Swift may have not been involved in that game, but 26 attempts there. So, and then roughly he got no lower than 4, and that was in one game. So, with Kyle, and then let me look real quick at Swift's carries. Swift's lowest carries was 9 or 8. So with Kyle now getting a new, going to get an uptick there, I think the offense stays on the field more. That's going to help as well, kind of give a boost in his carries. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kyle ends up getting anywhere from 10 carries at the bare minimum a game, or 10 to 8 carries, I should say. But on a good day, when the offense is really rolling, he could get anywhere up to 15. So, and Ben Johnson's shown in the past here in his past games, he doesn't mind giving him the rock, and I think he doesn't mind feeding the hot hand. So when that guy showed that he has the ability of taking over that lead back role if need to in a pinch. If Swift has to miss a few games. But Ben has also shown that if the offensive game plan dictates to just run the ball, he doesn't mind giving both guys, 15, 18 carries each and having them both bust out for 100-yard games. So,
well, hold up, sir. Roll up, sir. So I decided to start from week 7 because, before then he was only getting a few carries a game. It was like 7, 6, 5, 4, 5. But at week 7, that's when he got 13. Now, I excluded the 2 weeks he got over 20 carries because I don't expect that to happen. One of the games Swift was out on week 13. Week 9, Swift was out when that happened. Week 13, Swift was there. But I took out the 2 above 20 carry games because that's more than likely not to happen. And when I did the average from week 7 to 17, below 10 points. That ain't gonna cut it. That ain't gonna win me a league. That ain't gonna do it for me. That's the ceiling. So basically, damn near Swift need to be out the game for me to start this guy. That's what I feel like. Because for the season, he didn't average double digits. And then when I extract his games and when he got some carries, he didn't average over 10 points a game. But you expecting me to think this man gonna become the lead back? When he barely damn near unstartable in redraft leagues. I can't start nobody like that in my redraft league. So I can't see it, man. You not convincing me, and if you're not convincing me, you're probably not convincing my people. So I hope people standing with me right now. I hope y'all standing with me.
That's fine. Like I said, you may need my glasses to be in order to see that. So if you don't have them, you may not be able to see what I see. But I will say you can't expect what happened last season to happen this season as well. Experience does matter. Getting more familiar with the offensive system does matter as well. So I get his numbers may not be too impressive just looking at it like that as well. But you do want to try and be ahead of the curve and you do need to try and predict a guy's breakout season and whatnot instead of waiting for it to happen and then be like, okay, now next season I will draft him. And at that point, everyone's seen the season as well and missed out on it. So you're not going to always bat 1,000. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're going to swing and miss, but the times where you do hit it out the ballpark, like people are going to be like, damn, what the hell did he see that I didn't see? Or what the hell was he looking at that I wasn't looking at? So like I said, little things like that, guy being year 2 in the system, Ben Johnson's offensive system thrives on running the ball. So Swift is the more talented back, but I do think Monangai is just going to get his opportunities thrown his way.
All right. Do you got another point to make before I get into my last point?
Go ahead.
And my last point, I'm getting tired of hearing the false narratives about Swift. People be low-key hating Swift. All the false narratives. When compared to Kyle Monangai, what the hell was Kyle Monangai better at? What? He wasn't better in yards per carry. He didn't get more points than him. He didn't have a better PFF grade. I'm trying to figure out what can we say Kyle Monangai was better in. So if he wasn't better than anything last year, what the hell you think make him gonna be better than anything the next year? You try to catch a breakout for what? You can't try to catch a breakout on a backup running back. What are we doing here? So you got a better prospect that got better numbers, that's still in his prime, who are better pass catching. What the league is going. That's what we're going to passing. How is Kyle Monangai going to be able to overtake Swift and lead this backfield? How is it even possible? help me understand because I ain't getting it. I
Yeah,
ain't
well,
getting
no, Kyle's definitely one. Like he has to have worked on his hands and be a viable option like that in the passing game to be, more involved in this offense. I think that's something that the end season report that every team kind of goes to, every coach goes with the players. I'm sure that's something that they addressed them and kind of told him this is something that would help you being more involved, a better offensive weapon and whatnot in this offense. Me being a Bears fan, I'm seeing the reports, or kind of hearing the reports that are coming out. He's looking really good. He's looking a lot faster as well. I think the training and the coaching that he got with Eric Bieniemy, he kind of soaked a lot of that up.
I'm sure
So
that
I know.
4.6 is looking a lot faster. I'm sure.
No, I mean his hands though, like you're saying, he does need to be a bit more better threat in the passing game. But I do have faith, and I do think that he will be more involved in that as well. Because, like you said, sure, it may be really obvious when he's out there and being like, "Hey, okay, they're obviously running that Kyle's in the game." We'll have to wait and see, but don't be surprised if all of a sudden he becomes more of a viable passing threat than he was last year. What we saw last year was last year. Things evolved, players evolved. I get that it may be hard for you to see it now and whatnot, but it's one of those things where I know a lot of people have to see it before they really can believe it and think that it can be done and can be true. But I will say that even though you do see things, it can be a false thing. So there's been plenty of times where players have shown, oh, hey, I can be this player. And then the next year we never hear from them again. They fall off. So it's not as simple as that. It's like, okay, I've seen him do it once, and therefore he's going to be able to produce and do this year in and year out. And vice versa. Oh, I've never seen this player do that before. So therefore that means he's never going to be able to produce and evolve his game going forward and stuff. So looking at the coaching, the offensive system, the offensive scheme, if a player's been in that scheme multiple years, he should be, more have a better understanding and better grasp of it and whatnot. So Kyle being the younger guy, the harder runner and stuff, I think he's the hungrier back. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if he ends up, like I said, thriving and kind of breaking out of his shell. But I know that could be asking a lot for a 7th round, draft pick.
Y'all heard that. I feel like he cracking. But we getting down to the closing argument. I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm going to let you give your last thoughts on why and try to convince the people on why they should draft this guy. So, hold on.
So, with Kyle Monangai, he is the younger back. He is the more hungrier back. I think Ben Johnson, like I said, he drafted this guy. All right. Don't mind that he got him late in the later rounds. All right. But he saw value in this guy. Ben Johnson's offensive system thrives on running the rock and establishing the rock. Kyle Monangai, being the younger guy, I think at the end of the day, Swift will be surprised of how much Kyle has taken over that job and whatnot. His hands will be better. You'll see that at the end of the day here, he will have over 1,000 yards rushing by the end of the season. I know he hasn't done it yet, but you want to be the first to have him on this team when he does do it. So,
People. Look. I am not a Bears fan. And that is a Bears fan speaking with his heart. I'm here speaking with my mind, with my eyes, what I seen, not what I'm being hopeful about, not what I want to really happen. This probably, I'm telling you what's most likely going to happen, because people keep disrespecting DeAndre Swift like he not him, and that's cool. But DeAndre Swift just had one of his best seasons last season. Now you saying Kyle Monangai, this is his second season in this offense get better. Well, guess what? This Swift second season in the same offense, who have more experience, who are more dynamic back, who was able to produce more, had the better PFF grade. PFF graded him higher in the pass blocking. So that's what I'm like. I'm like, what can Monangai do better than Swift? Yeah, his runs look pretty. He's a grinder. So, hey, running between the tackle looks just a little better. But guess what? He's a grinder. That's what he do. If you want to make him a goal line back, sure, go for it. But guess what? Guess who the best back on that field is? Swift. And when you put him out there, you don't know what's going to happen because he can run the ball, he can catch the ball. But we ain't saying, we ain't going to try to hope Mr. Monangai has gotten better at catching. We're not going to hope he takes the next step. We've seen all we need to see. Now, at his ADP, I think he's going around the 97 pick. Why would I pick a backup running back when I have starters around that pick? Like, why would I pick a guy that couldn't average over 10 points a game, couldn't even give me 10 points a game, couldn't even give me double digits when I got starters all around that area of the draft, the still draft? Why would you ever pick him in the top 100? I don't understand it. Look, I'm just trying to tell you guys, stay away from bad players. I don't think, if Dynasty, you want to keep him on your roster, fine, but in redraft, I'm not betting on him next season. He don't got the starting role, and I'm not going to wish upon a star that he get more touches. And guess what? I never bet on a guy that's a part of a team, no badges. He didn't earn any of my badges, didn't like him as a prospect, and I still don't like him. So I'm betting against him. All right, people. You got both of our closing arguments. You got me, the fantasy guy, versus the crooked commish, and we gave our most compelling arguments and points. And hey, I hope y'all make a good decision and make sure y'all choose wisely if y'all choose to draft Monangai. Got anything to say before we leave, Mr. Crooked Commish?
Thanks for having me on, man. It was a pleasure. Always like talking fantasy football and just football in general. So it's a pleasure. And let me know when you want to come back to the clubhouse so we can chop it up again.
All right, people. That's all we got. On You Be the Judge. Peace.
Court's adjourned.